Hello, everybody. We actually started on time, and we have a great guest. Satan's testicles are feeling frosty right now. Hell has frozen over. We started on time. We don't have any technical problems. And we have a great guest. A great guest. Tonight, we have Scott Fensterer. He is a special effects makeup artist, and he does some other special effects work as well. It's not just makeup. He's an accomplished sculptor, and he makes props, and he's got his fingers in lots of pies in that world. You might know him the most from season 9 of Face Off on SyFy, and he got pretty far along in the competition. He was one of the last 4 or 5 people to be in the show to get eliminated, and he did great work on Face Off. And I've watched all of season 9. I love Face Off. I watch it anyway, but he did great work on there, and I wound up being Facebook friends with him like a year and a half ago or something, and I just kind of followed his work online. And then when this show came about, I just knew that I wanted to have him on. And also I commissioned him to do some work for me. He's creating a puppet for the show, an alien puppet. And it's still in the design stages, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And I just want to remind everyone that I'm going to be at Disclosure Con in Pine Top, Arizona, October 5th and 6th. And that's where SyFy and Reality collide under one roof. That's right. It's going to be a lot of fun. Come up, check it out. It's going to be a lot of costume contests. There are going to be speakers. Mike Barra is going to be there. Travis Walton is going to be there. I'm going to have a table there. Please come and see me. And part of what I'm going to do at my table at Disclosure Con, I don't have this yet, but it's ordered, and I will have it by the time Disclosure Con happens. Do you see this guitar right here? That is the Roswell Rhodes. And that was made by Jackson in 1997. And they only made 120 of them. That's got an aluminum body. And I just want to show you that the fret markers are crop circles. Those are aluminum tuning keys. That's an aluminum head. And the volume control knob looks like a UFO. And I'm going to have that guitar available on a stand that you can walk up to, and you can have your picture taken with it, have some selfies with it. I'm not going to charge money for that. Just come to the table and do it. I'm going to have some stickers, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So please come to Disclosure Con, October 5th and 6th in Pine Top, Arizona. And we're going to have a blast. Scott, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Natasha. This is an awesome night, I know already.
That's cool. Listen to me. That's cool. I've got. How more informal can I get? I don't know.
Hey, we're old friends now.
I know, right? I'm going to play 5 questions in 5 minutes with you right now, and then we'll move along, and we'll get to some of these other topics later on in the show about where they can find your work, and also a charity that you're involved with that we definitely want to tell everyone about. So are you ready for 5 questions in 5 minutes?
God, I hope so. Let's give it a try.
All right. I love this song. It's just fun. It's quirky. I developed these questions just for you, Scott. So they were all created with you in mind. In the 1968 film Planet of the Apes with Charlton Heston, what species of great ape was the Lawgiver?
The Lawgiver. He was one of the orangutans.
Boom! You nailed that. And in the NRA, what ape was Charlton Heston?
He was the head honcho.
The head honcho.
Yeah, the spokesman.
I know.
Yeah, fun stuff.
I'll just let that one go.
Yeah.
It's not fun to make. Yeah. I'll let that go. Which special effects makeup artist inspired you the most?
Oh, from the get-go, it had to be Jack Pierce. His stunning makeup on Frankenstein, and I saw that the first time, and that was life transforming. I mean, I just had to read everything I could about him.
Was he the Rick Baker of his day?
Probably. There wasn't a lot to compare him to, except for maybe Lon Chaney. He was kind of a pioneer in doing makeups. Every day he would do that makeup on Karloff from scratch.
Wow.
So that's. But I mean, you ask Rick Baker, and he'll probably lean towards him as well. If he's not saying Dick Smith, he's talking about Jack Pierce. There were pioneers in their day.
Was he using some of the same materials back then, or do you know what he was using for the Frankenstein makeup?
He used a lot of stuff out of actually, people that did mortuary work. He used a lot of collodion. He used wax, like nose putty and stuff like that. So very, very traditional things, like we would call them almost rudimentary tools, but those were like high-end stuff back then. They didn't have foam, they didn't have latex or anything like that. We were using it a lot. So kind of pioneering for them.
Cool. All right, that all fell under one question. Here's the next one. Were you tempted to give Jonathan Frakes an inappropriate, lingering man hug?
Yeah, probably if he would have let me. More so Michael Dorn, though. I love Michael Dorn. Yeah. I respect the hell out of Jonathan Frakes, but I just love his style. Michael Dorn is a real down-to-earth guy.
What were those guys like? Did you get to spend much time talking to them at all, or was it kind of what we saw on the show, just kind of a brief in and out?
Jonathan Frakes was kind of that quick in and out. He shot his scene and then he left. But they actually did something you don't see on film on the show. Is Michael Dorn came out with Mr. Westmore, and that was absolutely cool because he basically introduced Michael Dorn to us and said, if you haven't met him, here's your chance. And he was just so warm and friendly.
That's cool. I like hearing stories like that. I really do. Because, those people are heroes of mine as well. I love Star Trek Next Generation. And those shows are great. They're timeless.
Yes.
Next question. What are the 3 worst horror films of all time, in your opinion, and why?
Oh, what was that one? Oh my gosh.
High Tension.
High Tension. Have you seen that? Oh my god. High Tension. If you are, it's almost too realistic, but it's not. Where was it from? It's from another film. It's a French film, but oh my god. And I have to say, what else? If we're going old school, maybe Them. That was a pretty weird one.
There you are.
Did I go somewhere? I'm
back.
Back.
Lost audio. Oh, you're back. You're back.
Them. That was pretty bad. If you ask my wife, she'll always say John Carpenter's Thing.
Oh, really?
Yes, she hates that one, and I kind of just laugh a little bit, but it's something about the dog when it explodes and the tentacles come out. She's very uncomfortable. I had to mention that just to embarrass her.
I gotcha. And last question. Which special effects makeup artist should be thrown into a pit of starving crocodiles?
Oh. Rick Baker is such a hack. No. I absolutely adore Rick Baker. And it's hard to pick someone, because we see the hard work that everyone's put. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. You know what really, I guess this is a broader picture thing, but if I can elaborate on this, the people that I think should be thrown into a pit of fire. There are a lot of YouTubers. There are a lot of people that are trying to teach special effects on YouTube. And the thing that always gets under my skin as an artist and one who respects the craft are the people that do dangerous things. Now, it's one thing to, if you're doing something in your shop and you're doing something that's considered dangerous or not proper, that's fine. But when you're on YouTube, you're an authority figure and people are going to look to you what you're doing. And I mean, if you do some hunting on YouTube, there was I believe it was a Canadian or a French video that was done, but some girl was getting a life cast made, and they literally encased her in a lucite box around a table that closed around her neck. So here's her head sticking up in the middle of the table, and then they pour alginate in. And of course, all she has is two little hoses in her nose, two little like those vinyl hoses. And as soon as they put the alginate in, they pop out, and this girl just starts screaming. And it's stuff like that that you see that sometimes it's more subtle than that, but they're trying to teach people how to do makeups and, you know, use this right on your face or use that right on your face. And I look at those and I scream. You know, they're, crocodiles, hot lava, whatever you want to throw them into. But it's dangerous. A lot of kids are watching this stuff, and you have to take that very seriously.
So collectively, we'll scoop up all of the amateur special effects makeup artists, the hacks, and just shove them off of a cliff.
Yeah, at least get them into a good school. I wouldn't say throw them into a cliff. Get them into a good school. Learn safety. Come on, people.
Learn safety? Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Tonight is Friday night, and the first Friday night show we had a week ago tonight was just a 30-minute show of me talking about the show, which kind of went on and on and on. And I didn't get to do a regular Friday night show. So there was no metaphysical trivia last Friday night. But tonight I have metaphysical trivia. And I would like you to join in, Scott. If you know any of this stuff, feel free to chime in. But what this is really about is getting the viewers to give me some answers. So no one has heard this song yet. Everything else has been kind of techno, dancing, and blippity bloppity. And I decided to kind of go tribal and mysterious and dark and deep with the theme for metaphysical trivia. Please, viewers, chime in the chat room. Give me some answers. I'm going to test your knowledge. Like I said, Scott, if you know any of this stuff, let us know. Chime in.
I'm going to
help out here. And I decided not to take so easy on the viewers this time. I want to be a little bit challenging. So I want to go ahead and toss out some interesting metaphysical trivia. And the first question is, in terms of the supernatural, what is the Roman playwright Plautus known for? And I just wonder how many people are like scrambling for Google search. And I really don't know how long to wait on an answer. I'll tell you what, I'll just kind of, do you know, Scott, have you heard of him? Do you know anything about this?
No. I mean, unless it's like Pilates, he was like the first, philosopher that brought about Pilates, but I've not heard that name. No.
I'll give it some time. We'll keep that one out there. I'll repeat it, and then we'll move on to the next one. And I'll kind of cycle back through and see what people have to say. And that is, in terms of the supernatural, what is the Roman playwright Plautus known for? And it's kind of interesting. And then I have a softball question coming up. I'll bet you know what this is, Scott. What is psychometry?
Oh, I'm going to venture a guess and measuring the psychic ability of someone, or?
You're in the ballpark. Bueller, and I'm talking to you, viewers. What is psychometry? I know someone out there knows what psychometry is. And I'm trying to tune in here. And I don't see the feed. Let me try something here. Nope, I don't see any answers. I'm going to give this one away. I've known this one for a long time. Psychometry is the ability to psychically sense the history of a physical object. Those are the psychics that pick up an object of unknown origin to them and tell a story about who had it, where it's been, or what might have happened to the person who had the object. And since I see a lack of answers, people will watch this later, so it's okay. We can do this. Plautus was known. He wrote the earliest known work to include a haunted dwelling. The very first written ghost story in literature was him. And he was back in Rome. So that's the answer to that one. Which famous spirit medium was exposed as a fraud by Harry Houdini? That might be a little bit more in your wheelhouse, Scott.
I know I read that story and I can't remember. Too much fumes from the studio, I guess. But I know I read that story.
Too much fumes from the studio. I like that. I like that. I'm going to go ahead and just toss this one out since this is kind of going this way and we're not getting a lot of answers. It was Mina Crandon, and that was in 1924. The next question is, what is the definition of a residual haunt? Do you have any ideas? A residual haunt. I knew the answer to this one too. I didn't have to look that up. A residual haunt is the apparitions that you see in the same place that repeat the same behavior and appear to be oblivious to the living. They just kind of, it's like watching a replay of a movie or a clip. They go through the same place. And that's a residual haunt. It's kind of like a recording in space and time of sorts. And the last question is, which famous author was a founding member of the Hampshire Society for Psychical Research? This stuff will be great when we have enough people participating.
I'm showing.
I'm like tossing this out and seeing dead space. Do you have any idea? You would know. You know who this author is, Scott.
I do.
This is turning into like 10 questions for Scott instead of 5 questions in 5 minutes.
No, I like it though. I like it, but quite honestly, a lot of what I've learned about the supernatural has been probably from Ghostbusters until recently. About myself. Here's like a little quick bit of trivia. I never really believed in reincarnation. I was not brought up that way. But I'll tell you what, and I'm going to sound like a complete sap, but when I met my now wife, and the first time I saw her across the room, I believed in reincarnation because there was no way that I could have almost remembered the feeling as when I met her. So I'll tell you, I am open to anything. I'm open to the supernatural world because it has to exist. And people who say that
Like
I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. My dog evidently is having some gastrointestinal
That's perfect. Right here live. On Mysterious Forces Live. What's that smell? It's a mysterious force and it's happening live.
Yes. What were we talking about? That residual haunting? I think we just had an example of it.
There you go.
But I'm sorry, we got a little irreverent there for a while. But
hopefully.
Definitely, I believe, but I don't have a lot of experience with it. So I'm finding this entirely entertaining and interesting.
Cool. And it's interesting that you kind of work within the genre that is more mysterious and, horror, sci-fi, and it's very cool. So everyone out there who's listening, they know who this is, whether you're watching right now or whether you're watching later as a rebroadcast. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was a founding member of the Hampshire Society for Psychical Research because he was way into spiritualism. He went back and forth. He wavered. He was way into spiritualism. He really supported it. And then he kind of backed off. And I'm kind of personally fascinated with that era in the late 18th century, early 19th, or late 19th century, early 20th century, 1880s and all that, spiritualism and seances and all that stuff. I mean, it was a lot of BS, but at the same time, I think it's really interesting. And I think that the advent of science at that time really affected people's psychology and kind of broadened their minds a little bit. So can we talk a little bit about Face Off? I do want to say to the viewers that Scott has a great career, and the span of his work is more than just the one season that he did on Face Off. That got him known, that got your name out there, and it opened up a lot of people to your work. But you had done work before Face Off, and you've done a lot of work after Face Off, and that's just kind of like one little slice of life for you. But at the same time, people watch a lot of television. I'm sure there are people watching who are tuning in because they found you on Facebook or Facebook. Face Off. And I found you on Facebook, but you were on Face Off. And I thought I'd just ask you a little bit about it, just some curiosity stuff, if you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. How much time did you really have? Like, is the clock running down, all that stuff? Is that really accurate? I watched the show and I just wonder, did they let them have a break for lunch? Like, did they stop the clock and let people take a break and then go back to it? Or how'd that work out?
When the clock was running, you got no break. If you wanted to take a break, you could go and do your thing and come back. They did have like craft carts set up to where you could go and get lunch or a snack or something like that. All the LaCroix soda you could drink. So you could take little breaks here and there if you wanted to, but most of the time you would just work right on through, because those clocks were real. 18 to 21 hours for a regular spotlight challenge. So your time is ticking from the minute they say go.
Wow. What was your favorite makeup from the show, that everything that you worked on that season?
Oh, wow. I'm torn because they're all my babies. I think my personal favorite, the one that was closest to my heart, was actually the old man at the end. It was actually, spoiler alert, but it was the one that sent me home. Walking Dad. It was a tribute to my father, who never really got to see me do makeups like that. So I wanted to dedicate that to him, and that one was the closest to me. But there were a lot that, my God, they're in the same ballpark. The Frankenstein one that we talked about.
I love the Frankenstein.
That one was so fantastic. I loved working on that because of my connection and fandom with Frankenstein. And then, of course, the Star Trek challenge, the Little Mergirl. That was fun to do, and to realize a character like that, especially one that could fit in a Star Trek universe, that was awesome. So it's hard for me to pick a favorite.
Yeah, I can see that. Me recording music and composing music, it's the same way. They're all kind of for different purposes, and each one kind of expresses a different emotion. And so it just depends on what the purpose is and what the context is of any piece of art for any artist, I think.
Right.
Do you have, speaking of which, do you have a sketch of the puppet that you're working on for me?
I do.
That's awesome.
So when we originally spoke, we took all of your concepts, all of your ideas, and I think we kind of, had one direction when we started, and as we talked a little more about it, we were like, well, we could do this, because really, it's a blank slate. So this is kind of a world premiere. Hopefully you'll be able to see this.
Oh yeah, no, it's not blown out. It looks great.
That's our little friend. And, as you can see, he has the characteristics of the gray alien. Couple of things put in there just for the sake of being original with it. But yeah, I think that this little guy is going to do well.
Yeah, he will. That'll be popular at conventions. I'm going to take him around. Last week, it was hilarious. I was trying to describe Triumph, the insult comic dog. And when I went back and I looked at the video, I said, insult the comic dog. And I was just like face palming. I'm like, where was my brain? It obviously fell out. That's great work. I love it. And I'm going to keep the viewers updated. And as a matter of fact, what I'm going to do is once it's completed and then I showcase it, I'm going to let the viewers vote on picking a name for the alien.
I don't know this one. Did you see the
yeah.
one? That shows all that anatomy and everything that we're really going to have to make it look otherworldly. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, me too. That's I was so surprised. You were like, do you like tympanic membranes for ears? And I was like, oh yeah, let's do that. It was just like I said, I had a concept at first, but I was really interested in just kind of letting you go with your imagination, and I like surprises, and I just wanted to see what you would come up with. And I think a lot of times all kinds of artists are at their best when they're just kind of left to their own devices. It to me, it feels weird to tell an artist what you want them to do. I mean, I understand that there's a business aspect and all that, but at the same time, I think art it flourishes the most when an artist is free to kind of use their imagination.
I enjoy that, and I also like with you. I love having a great partner on something like that. You know, when I get commissioned, especially for something like this isn't like, oh, I want to do a Sir Alec Guinness from Star Wars, or I want, because that, you know what they look like, but this character has never existed. So we're kind of taking what your mental thoughts are and what I can bring about in 3D form, and those come together. And when it's got that free form going, nothing beats that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I appreciate your work so much. And I think we're going to work on some other projects as time goes on as well, because it's been really enjoyable doing that. I'd like you to talk a little bit about the charity that you're involved with. We spoke about it earlier, and I think it's really important, and I think people would like to hear about that.
Yes. For the last 3 years, I have been involved with Hearts of Reality. And Hearts of Reality is a fundraiser benefit for Give Kids the World. And some of these kids, they don't make it very long. They're either terminal or seriously ill. And Give Kids the World Village is a place that they can go and forget they're sick. And it's not only for them, but their siblings and their parents. They have a place to stay, to receive treatment, to go to Disney World. They have 24-hour ice cream parlors.
Oh, that's amazing.
They have salon, like for the girls, they have salon for their, you know, they want to get the full makeup, the princess treatment. The guys, they have a G.I. Joe workout room and stuff like that. And you see these kids, and this is what really touched my heart. We went there as makeup artists. We were part of reality TV stars, which I use that term very, very loosely. I'm not a star. I change diapers, or I used to change diapers. I'm a normal guy. But
right.
There were people from Big Brother, Survivor, Naked and Afraid, and then makeup artist guys like me and David O'Connell and you know, Emily Serpico. And then we were joined this year by, oh, why am I forgetting her name? Stephanie. I'll remember it. I'm sorry, but
that's okay.
Yeah, we were joined, and basically we're just all these reality stars that get together and put aside any kind of worries that we have about our own life and the stress of business, and kind of focus on these kids. And we see them come in, and they don't care who we are. They don't care that we were on a show. What they care about is that we care, that we're there, that we're pampering them. Hey, princess. Hey, prince. How are you doing? They're coming in, getting little flowers on their face or handshakes. And we wear these goofy costumes. My wife and I went as Branch and Poppy from the Trolls movie. And, you know, they were coming up to us. And for a while, they just forget they're sick. So, yeah, that's really near and dear to my heart. So you can go onto the website for Hearts of Reality. You can really make the donation if you want to make a donation to anyone. There's no minimum, no, nothing like that, no high pressure. But once you see what they do, if it's something that you feel passionate about, help out if you can. That's all I ask.
That's an awesome charity, and I want to support that myself, and I want to encourage the viewers to do that. Scott, we're down to 2 minutes. Can you tell folks where they can find you, find your work, and we had such a short time, we couldn't even really get into the stuff you've done. You've created the Shakespeare Bust from the old Batman TV series, where they pop his head back and push the button to open the doors that go to the Bat Cave. Mm-hmm. And you have some busts that you've created. Where can people find you and your work on social media?
Social media right now, we're revamping our website, but you can check out our studio page, Scott Fensterer Sculpture Studio, on Facebook. And you can also look up my public profile, Scott C. Fensterer. But yeah, the Shakespeare Bust is one of our newer pieces, but we originally did this 10 years ago. So coming back and being able to offer a more precise version, especially real metal and real bronze in the mix, that's cool. And you know, other than that, just always check back to the social media pages, and we'll have updates of where we're going to be, what we're doing as far as public appearances and charity events. All that stuff will be on the studio page and on the Scott C. Fensterer page.
Thanks, Scott. Thank you so much for coming on. I hope that you'll be a recurring guest, that you'll come on and you'll keep people posted about what you're working on. and showcase more of your work as it comes along. I know you're doing some work that you can't talk about. And I want to remind everyone that you can find me on Twitter at MyForcesLive, Instagram, Mysterious Forces Live, Snapchat, My Forces Live again, and Facebook, Mysterious Forces Live. Come to the page. Let me know what you think about the show. Say hello. Let's interact. Please click like. Please subscribe to the channel. Share the video if you like it. Scott, thank you so much. Please come back. I want you to come back when the puppet is done and we'll show it off together.
Absolutely. Thank you, Natasha. Have a good one.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Have a good night. Thank you for watching, everyone. Tune in tomorrow night and we'll have more fun here on Mysterious Forces Live. Bye.